You're listening to the PRO Media Network, the next level in entertainment.
Go Tigers, 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 go Tigers.
You're now listening to Tuff Tiger Talk with Big Q and the guys on the Pro Media Network.
What's going on, fam? How y'all doing today? Thank y'all for rocking with Tuff Tiger Talk on the PRO Media Network. Glad to be back with your family as we get ready to talk some LSU football on this nice Saturday, man. It's going down. Got a big one, man. LSU and Oklahoma. It's going down. LSU and Oklahoma, man. Gets no fairer than this, man. This is the first of two. The big dance, of course, much later, much further on. We about championships over here. I'd like to bring in my LSU contributor to the show, Mozzie 5. What's going on, Mozzie? How you doing, fam?
Oh, what's going on? What's going on?
Everything, bro, in the world of LSU, man. A lot of love being spread around LSU sweeping the awards in terms of what happened over the last couple of weeks, man. Joey B took it in terms of the Heisman. We knew that was going to happen upon getting everything else. We knew Orgeron got the Coach of the Year. And now the next thing we got to do is take care of business, man, is to take out one of two. We got Oklahoma we got to deal with. And something serious at the head of the snake is Jalen Hurts. But anyway, before we get into that, man, that's what we're going to be talking about on this episode of the Tuff Tiger Talk podcast. We'll preview the LSU matchup as they go toe-to-toe to Oklahoma Sooners. We'll have stats, facts, breakdown, plus interview from Coach O as he'll chime in with his thoughts upon the matchup with the Sooners ahead of the Peach Bowl. So this will be an interesting show for us to get going, and I'd like to welcome all of our great people to the Tuff Tiger Talk podcast. If you're an LSU fan, subscribe and join, man. There's no other podcast talking tough about the LSU football team except for us here at Tuff Tiger Talk. But anyway, let's get right into this one. 5, man, we was talking about this one a ways ago about this is how we would have to get one of the three teams coming into this matchup. Either we Clemson, Ohio State, we drew Oklahoma. They're 12-1 coming into this contest. Of course, the game is on ESPN, 3 p.m. Central Time for those who don't know. It's going to be a nice one. Oklahoma, one loss this year. They 12-1 coming to this thing. Of course, the Tigers, ranked at number 1, is 13-0 perfection. Don't get any better than that. And, of course, LSU coming ahead. We know who we got to deal with. You know, you have some spectacular players on Oklahoma side of the ball, offensively speaking. This team putting up 43 points a game, you know, in the matchup. But going head-to-head, the statistics, 43.2 is Oklahoma's points per game versus LSU's 47.8. Might as well see 48 points flat a game. Now, points allowed, Oklahoma gives up 24.5 and LSU giving up 21.2 total yards. 554.2 versus 554.3. That's crazy. So both teams averaging 554 yards a contest. Passing 303 for Oklahoma, 386.8. You might as well say 387 for LSU. But this is the sticker. Oklahoma rushes the ball 251 yards a game. LSU holding its opponents. Rushing 167.5. Defense allowing 330.6. Oklahoma 341 is allowed by LSU. So if you look at those numbers and those indicators showing you that the major thing we got to deal with this Oklahoma team is they're balanced, to say the least, but rushing 251 yards per game is a lot of rushing yards. Hurts is the man with 32 touchdowns and over 3,600 yards passing with just 7 interceptions, but the dude has 1,255 yards rushing with 18 touchdowns. That's absolutely insane. Top wide receiver is C.D. Lamb, who's predicted to be a number 1 quarterback coming up in the draft. With all that being said, we still got a lot to cover. Mozzie, bringing you into this, fam. What is your thought process? We know the head of the snake for Oklahoma is Jalen Hurts. He has over 3,600 yards passing, 32 touchdowns, single digit as far as the interceptions goes. The guy has 18 rushing touchdowns He leads the team in rushing with over 1,200 yards. Is absolutely insane. We know the head of the snake is Jalen Hurts. How do we deal with him?
Well, I mean, you game plan against it. I mean, you stop him from running, first of all, because Jalen Hurts, I mean, although he has had his moments as a passer, we all can probably agree with the fact that his main source of weaponry, his weapon of choice, is his legs. And much like the Ole Miss game, where we seem to have had some complications in containing the run there, the freshman quarterback, this isn't him. This is a whole nother monster with Jalen Hurts. And I mean, I guess the good thing would be that we have dealt with this before. Speaking of Jalen Hurts, anyway, we dealt with this before. Seeing him in Alabama for the last 4 years. So we understand who he is. We understand what he brings to the table. We understand what he means. We just simply have to stop it. Do we have a defense that can contain him and stop him? I believe so, because I just don't think that Oklahoma has any other weaponry at this stage that can compete with LSU on this level. They are 12-1. However, that 12-1 to me is they're paper champs. They're paper champs, simply meaning they're in the Big Ten. The Big Ten. Nobody plays the Big 12. Nobody plays any defense at all whatsoever. So, I mean, when you look at an SEC 47, almost 48 points versus a Big 12 of 43 points, it's a night and day situation, because I understand whether you're looking at Texas, whether you're looking at Baylor, whether you're looking at Oklahoma, whether you're looking at Kansas, whether you're looking at whoever you're looking at, none of them play defense. So, yeah, obviously it's been a field day for Jalen Hurts, but I don't think they'll have that same 43-point success today, because obviously that's all they have is Jalen Hurts. LSU, however, has very impressive point totals on monstrous defenses that are far better than anything Oklahoma could dream up, i.e. Alabama, i.e. Georgia, i.e. A&M. All of these defenses are undoubtedly better than Oklahoma's defense, and LSU had quite impressive numbers when it came to these teams. So I'm not worried about LSU at all. I mean, as long as they can digest the level and stage of game they're playing, which can only happen from experience, coaching, leadership, those things. As long as all the fundamentals are in place, from the talent standpoint, I mean, it's going to be a no-brainer. I look for LSU to hang 45 to 60 on Oklahoma's subpar defense.
I mean, you make some compelling statements right there, to be honest with you. Absolutely right. The level of competition that Oklahoma played, coming from the conference where versus the SEC, and what the basically what LSU put up was absolutely phenomenal. Even outside of the SEC, when they played teams like Texas, of course, going into games against Alabama, tough teams, Florida, really difficult matchups against really serious teams. LSU undoubtedly has risen supreme countless amount of times, and it's just phenomenal to say the least. But Jalen Hurts is a SEC guy. Who that to you, Shedrick? I see you, baby. Go Tigers in the chat. But this is the reality when we deal with facing a team like OU. We know that it all starts and ends with Jalen Hurts, who we are very familiar with, like you said, dealing with his days at Alabama. So it's not like we coming into this matchup not knowing how to deal with this fella. It's just going to be fun just to watch, to see how exceptional a former SEC quarterback did when he was able to go to Oklahoma and do everything that he did. But anyway, before we finish the statistical breakdown, let's go ahead over to Coach O and hear what his thoughts is on the matchup against OU. Here's Coach O.
The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, these guys have been phenomenal. The combinations, the welcome, the hospitality, the food obviously has been phenomenal. Sent early, ready to go. Everybody was early to the meetings today. We had a tell-the-truth Monday practice. We practiced in the Dome. There's a different feeling about this team this week. This is a playoff game for us. You can feel the intensity retching up. It's pretty good. Focusing on the detail was very good today. So we're excited to be here. Very pleased with our coaching staff, the way they're working. We have our wives, we have our family here, but everybody knows it's a playoff game and we're coming to win it.
Any update on the status of Clyde?
You know, Clyde's a little bit better than we thought. You know, he's off the crutches and off the scooter. We're going to see if he can do something tomorrow. It's going to be a day-by-day deal, but I promise you this, a little bit better than what I thought about last week. So he has a chance to play. I don't know if he's going to play. It'll be day-by-day.
Go ahead with the questions.
Coach, obviously a lot of people are sitting on the couch in their pajamas and stuff for Christmas, but you got to get more intense than ever. So how do you have that dynamic with the team this week?
Yeah, I do believe that, when we took off Thursday, I think the coaches went home with their families Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and some of the guys went home and had Christmas with their families, and obviously, Christmas is going to be another day for us. Obviously, we're going to honor it because of his birthday of Jesus Christ, no question about that. But there won't be a lot of big festivities. It's going to be a practice day. It's going to be a work day for us.
As you're moving day-to-day with Clyde, how are you preparing the other one?
Yeah, they're all playing. All three of them are getting reps. All of them are playing. All of them are getting ready to go. All three of them.
So switching around is now three different quarterbacks with three distinct styles. What do you say about his ability to really cater to what his quarterback is bringing on?
I think he's a phenomenal coach, phenomenal offensive coach. He has a great scheme. I think the scheme plays a lot into it, but obviously he has great talent, and he adjusts his scheme according to his quarterback. Jalen is a fantastic quarterback, fantastic runner. He's going to be very difficult to stop.
When you look at how John Retired is playing freshman NFL, how would you evaluate from start to finish?
Yeah, John had a problem with fumbling the football at the beginning of the year, so he lost some reps there, but he has worked hard on it, fine. They're two different running backs like thunder and lightning. I think Tyron's been the most consistent back, can run the football in the middle, can get to the outside. John has the ability to break the long one. He has a little bit better speed than Tyron. And also Chris Curry. Chris has come along. Chris is a very bruising back, a dominating back. So I think all three of those guys do different things. With Clyde, he did everything well. I mean, he blocked well, he ran inside, ran outside, and caught the football well. But we're going to have to adjust if Clyde doesn't play and rotate those backs to do what they can do best.
That's Coach O, man, with his thoughts on the matchup. Of course, man, you hear what he said about breaking down the many different skillful running backs that LSU bolster on its roster. He was speaking about a lot. It's just, listen, LSU's not slacking for talent at the running back position. They've always consistently dominated, having really great running backs. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a different and special type of back of what he produces with the team. He has over 1,200 yards rushing on the season, 16 rushing touchdowns. 16 rushing touchdowns for this diminutive back. Kind of reminds people of a Darren Sproles type of back, power back and run in between. I mean, he's phenomenal, man. Phenomenal. But this is the thing. You heard Coach O recognize and break down the rest of those running backs as, breaking down, knowing that is the key injury concern going into this Peach Bowl against OU is the fact that Clyde Edwards-Helaire might not participate. That's something, and I guess it'll be considered a game-time decision as we draw closer and closer. But he's not the only concern in terms of players that's missing out. A little information before you get back to the statistics. If you look at what OU's dealing with, they have placed the three key players of their team on suspension from the Peach Bowl. Now, they don't say why they was suspended, but they have suspended some really good players. 3 players suspended include defensive lineman Ronnie Perkins, backup running back Ramondre Stevenson, and freshman wide receiver Trajan Bridges. They're saying there's no official cause of suspension, but something happened, and sooner or later, we'll get to the bottom of it sooner or later. But the Stevenson's absence will impact the Sooners' backfield depth behind Kennedy Brooks. Now, Stevenson, he locked in 64 carries for 515 yards and 6 touchdowns, but much of that came early in the season. Now, over the 6 games, he accounted for just 95 yards. He was kind of phased out, so they'll have to deal with that. Now, LSU dealing with health questions, like I said, dealing with Clyde Edwards-Helaire with that hamstring. We don't know exactly how that would play. Maybe he will miss this game and participate in the next game in the championship round for the big trophy. So we'll see just how that looks as well. Now, going back into some of the statistics, we look at some of the defensive statistics. OU giving up 330 yards a game, 198.5. They hold you under through their passing efforts, but they give up 132 yards on the ground. LSU secondary gives up 222 yards a game versus giving up 119.6, allowing you to run on them. Like I said, this is a very special game. I think major league special game because it's all predicated around LSU's ability to stop Jalen Hurts. That's what it comes down to. He is the passer. He is the top runner. And C.D. Lamb is a special commodity as well. Joe Burrow coming into this one, 48 touchdown, the Heisman Trophy winner, cleaned the shelves, took all the trophies, all the stuff that has something to do with the quarterback. He owns them. You have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like I said, he's the top running back. He probably won't be available for this game. We'll probably see a combination of running backs. I would love to see Emory more. He's a special back to me. Curry is very special as well. Would love to see Tyron too. So, I mean, like I said, these guys are physical runners. They got a little shiftedness. None of them similar to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They do a little something different, but they can run the rock behind that offensive line. And, of course, our top wide receiver, Jamar Chase, 73 catches, just under 1,500 yards, 18 touchdowns on the year. Fantastic. He won the wide receiver award, the top wide receiver honor as well. Now, 5 coming back into this one, man, with the OU matchup. You know, like we stipulated, you talked about it during your process. You heard what Coach O said about the injuries. How would that impact the team moving ahead, possibly not dealing with Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Obviously, Hilaire is going to be a pretty big blow to that offense from the running standpoint. But again, when you spew those totals off and those stats off that LSU has been able to produce on the ground with the Fresh Prince, it is almost amazing that he's been able to amass 1,200 yards in a run and gun, shoot 'em out offense that LSU has. Normally, when you see a high-flying offense and a quarterback that's thrown for 48 touchdowns and, 4,000 or 5,000 yards, and you got multiple receivers that I guess honestly could have won top honors wide receiver or be considered in the top 5, very rarely does that passing game is the running game is compatible or matching the passing game. So that not only goes to speak volumes about the Fresh Prince and who he is as a back, but we've got to take into account the scheme, and we got to take into account the fact that maybe because we pass so well and they're always looking for us to pass, we sneak a lot of runs in. I say that to say, although Emory may not be as a prolific a back that we've seen out of Hilaire, I think that most definitely we can get the job done. And I think that a lot of the times, a lot of the points and a lot of the yardage that Hilaire has made has been because we run the score up or because we're trying to chip away and get into a game because the passing game isn't quite as open for us. But I believe a lot of people game plan a scheme for us defensively, pass first, run second, and we make them pay for that. Well, actually, Hilaire makes them pay for that. So I think that we could probably plug Emory into that same slot at least for one game and have somewhat marginal success. What I don't want to see happen is I don't want to see the Fresh Prince come in and force his way into the game or be forced into the game and further injure or aggravate whatever injury that he may have. You got a couple more weeks left after today. When we win today, going into the national championship game, and I think that, whether that be whoever our opponent is, more than likely Clemson is what I'm thinking. When we go into that game is when we're going to need him at his peak best performance. So I think we can get it done today without him, with a very subpar Oklahoma defense. I think our system and I think our passing game by itself is enough to carry us forward without having the Fresh Prince in the game.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I have to agree with you. Go Tigers and who that to 985G in the building. Good to see you, fam. It's just one of the special things, man. You know, looking at all the great talent that this team's has, man. You just look at Joey. They think of Joey Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. You look at guys and talent that players like that just shine supreme. But people that really don't follow team, they really don't understand to the depth of how deep LSU is, especially at key positions. At running back, of course, there is no Clyde Edwards-Helaire type of player on the depth chart behind with Emory and the rest of those guys. But those guys all fast backs that have a lot of power. They add a different dimension to LSU's offense. So I definitely agree with what you're saying in that goal. Now let's listen to Joey Burrow give his thoughts on Oklahoma in the Peach Bowl, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and other things. Here's Joey B.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, we were here last week as well, and so it was nice to come back, and the family feud last night was a lot of fun.
We talked about the relationship between you and Coach O and how much you guys mean to each other. But what does it feel like to have a relationship with, of course, Mr. Steve and Joe Brady, the quarterback's coach, just coming from last year to this year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that they do that I appreciate is they ask for my input in the offense, and they not only ask for it, but they implement it. And, you know, Coach E and Coach Joe come to me on Monday, ask for ideas, and they'll be in the game plan on Tuesday. And then Thursday and Friday, I'll get a play sheet and cross out the ones I don't like, and they won't call it. And so it's been a great meshing together.
Joe, if you were to tell your story to someone who'd never heard it, didn't know a thing about you, what would you say?
How long do you have?
I got all morning. Go ahead.
It's been a long one, you know. I think that's kind of been the story of the college football season, with 3 of the Heisman finalists being transfers and having long roads and battling through adversity. You know, I just try to leave a legacy of hard work and leadership and loyalty, and let the rest take care of itself.
If you are having to rely on some young running backs, do you feel that puts more pressure on the passing game side of your offense?
Look, Clyde is a running back, but what makes Clyde so good is you can't cover him with a linebacker. You know, teams have to go dime or to put another safety in there, another DB to cover Clyde, and then we can run the ball down their throat. So Clyde, you know, is super versatile and puts a lot of pressure on the defense. And we're not going to change our offense if Clyde isn't out there. You know, our offense is our offense, and those guys will step up, and I know they will, and they work hard for it. But Clyde is a big part of it.
$482,326 been raised so far on Facebook for the Athens County Food Pantry. That charitable work and money that has spilled over to other charitable causes, springing from what you said at the Heisman speech last Saturday, how much is that? I'm sure you've taken note of that. How much has that surprised you or overwhelmed you, or what have you thought about it?
I think it's awesome. You know, I think their annual budget was something like $70,000 or $80,000, and it's up close to $500,000 now, and that's, you know, I didn't expect that. I didn't say what I said, but I just said it from my heart. That's what I was feeling at the time, and someone took it and run with it, and it's been awesome. You know, I couldn't be happier for my area that's been happening. I think it's going to help a lot of people this Christmas.
That's Joey Burrow, man, on thoughts on a number of different things, including what LSU is not going to do against OU's defense. And that makes a strong point that Burrow said, is that about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, is that how incredibly good he is in space. The fact that's a really good statement. The fact that he does put a lot of pressure on anybody's defense to cover him. Of course, they have to play a safety, and I don't think a safety fast enough to keep up with him. You might have to play a cornerback or somebody like that just to stay close to the guy. And then the power that Clyde Edwards-Helaire runs with, the ability he can be able to overpower you, not just run around you or run away from you. He can also lower his shoulder and run into you and lower the boom. So he's a great combination of speed and power, and LSU utilized his talents to the utmost, to the optimal levels using Clyde. I mean, they really took Clyde Edwards-Helaire's skill set, incorporated into the offense, and went and just went to the max with him. And, hopefully when he comes out, this guy is a day one pick. No doubt about it. If he's there for the Saints, I think they should grab hold of him because this the type of special type of player you could utilize at running back, wide receiver. This is the ultimate space player, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But before we get to future prospects, Five, come back in here, man. Let me ask you this. You heard what Joey B said about the LSU's offense and how they use Clyde Helaire and how the fact that they're not going to alternate or change the defense because he's not there. Now, it's most certainly sounds like to me that he won't be there because, I doubt that they'll play it up this big and then put him in there. I would say hold him out until the game that really counts, the big game, which is, the next game up against whoever Clemson or Ohio State. We don't care. We'll stump you. But that's what it comes down to. What's your thoughts on what Joey Burrow said in his interview pertaining to Clyde Edwards-Helaire and LSU's offense, and the fact that his thought process on what his comments were about Ernst Sminger and Brady and Bradley changing the offense around him, getting his input, putting a list of plays up, and the ones he don't like, they scratch them off, they don't run them. What you think about that thought?
Well, again, I 100% agree with everything that Burrow said in regards to Helaire. One thing that we have got to understand is that Helaire has been a viable part. He does a lot of stuff, man, that you probably don't account for as far as blocking, as far as check down. He's bailed Burrow out of a lot of situations and out of a lot of holes. No, he's a horrible matchup for any linebacker and/or safety to try and come up and defend because he does catch passes really, really well up the backfield. Again, it's just one of those things, man. One of those small pieces of weaponry in your arsenal that if it was me, and if I could prevent it, I would just not. I just wouldn't have it. Maybe have him dress out. Maybe list him as active, but not put him in the game unless it's an absolute necessity. Now, truth be told, it's just a playoff game, so we don't really have time to go back and forth with it, and we got to leave it all out there. So I would rather have been to the dance than to be eliminated a game before the dance, because at this point, I think everybody, at least Tiger Nation, is a national title of butt. So if we don't achieve or reach that national title game with a season like this, I don't see many seasons like this. Even the great Alabama teams and the Auburn Cam Newton team. I mean, I just don't see even the Oregon teams, the prolific Oregon teams of 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013 Oregon. I just don't see this. This is something different, and I think that because it's coming from an SEC team, they're looking at it as an oddity. Or I think it puts that much more magnification or spotlight on what's going on, because even with Alabama, you just don't have this. This is something different. The closest SEC team I compared it to maybe 07 to 09, Tim Tebow-led Florida Gators, maybe. Other than that, man, this is something different. And I think that Helaire should suit up. And I think that his services will be by committee. I mean, if he has to come into the game and we need him there and he's got to lay it all out, so be it. But I could bring up a little side note. Willis McGahee. I don't know if you remember Willis McGahee, but I can remember distinctly. I want to say back in 2002 or 3, him playing in the title game and pretty much snapping his leg in half. And that definitely depleted his draft stock for that year, and undoubtedly had an effect on his overall career. And he was an absolute monster, very similar to Clyde Edwards-Helaire in build, in stature, in running ability, run style, being able to catch. He was an overall workhorse for that Miami Hurricane team that year. And, I mean, freak accidents just happen. But he really wasn't messed up with it because he left it all out there. And that's the thing. I don't want any of the LSU coaching staff or any of the players to feel like, hey, we didn't leave it all out there in the event that they would lose, which I highly doubt. So do we suit him up? Possibly. Do we put him in? That's left to be seen. With that being said, I think that they need to definitely come out early. I think they definitely need to establish what kind of game this is going to be early. I think that they need to try that secondary of Oklahoma. I don't believe in it. I think that both Chase and Jefferson have really, really big games. And I think that they need to look at this as not an opportunity, but I think a duty to put this game on their shoulders and help their quarterback and their team out, because all season long, those guys have been there for them and they played well as a unit. But I think that for this one game, at least this one game, with the possibility of Hilaire being out, I think that both Jefferson and Chase kind of need to step it up even that much more and just give that much more and leave everything out there.
No doubt about it, man. You're absolutely right. They definitely, if my thing is this, if Hilaire is not able to go and he's just that bad off of shape, just leave him off. They have enough talent to compete, even though a lot of offense is built around him and what he does. But in the end, I just see this game as something that the defense will have to wrangle some kind of way, contain the dual threat that is Jalen Hurts. And of course, CeeDee Lamb is out there and he's a special talent in his own right. And they have some other really good players there as well. So they're motivated. A lot of people have already chosen LSU to defeat OU, and that might put a chip on their shoulder. But it'll be an interesting game out there in the Mercedes-Benz Dome, whatever they call it. But this is the reality as well, is like you said, I don't think Coach O will build his team up for a letdown. I think ultimately what it comes down to is the fact that he'll have this team ready to play. You heard him, we played during the show about him having a curfew in place where the players will be locked down and the focus has been put extremely on football. Coach O, if you watch the last of the several contests that we played, he's been really disciplined and really, really meticulously making the players, coaches, personnel strictly focus on the game and making his team play with a chip on his shoulder, constantly reminding them that nobody's respecting you and you're going to have to go out here and win the big dance to take respect. Ohio State's been giving it. Clemson's been giving it. All these other teams on the other side that we have to match up with eventually. These are the guys that get given the respect, saying that if those teams were to play you today, they would beat you. And they've been constantly playing with that chip on the shoulder. They're getting some respect, but my thought process is for the haters, man. F the haters. The haters are your haters for a reason. They only meant to provide one incentive, one motivation. That's to ratchet it up and just stump their ass. That's the bottom line. That's all the purpose they ever serve. And some people you'll convert, many you probably won't, but in the end, it's really all about you and what you intend to do and your will. You're imposing your will upon the team that you plan because you realize that you're just that far superior than that opponent. So that's my process of thought on that. And also, like I said, it's a very simple procedure in terms, I guess, not simple to say simple because it really is not that simple to contain somebody as dynamic as Jalen Hurts. But if anybody could do it, it's LSU defense can do it. They've been facing tough opponents the entire season long, and all the thing they did was win. They finally dethroned Alabama. They knocked Alabama in the dirt. They avenged the Florida game. They avenged the Texas A&M game. So, like I said, this is more of the same going up here, taking on Oklahoma, who a lot of people at the start of the year said was going to be a national champion. This is our opportunity to take them down and move into the next game, which is really what we want, to bring another championship back home to the state of Louisiana. That's what it's about. Let me also just touch on this. This is the time, most of your NFL, your top NFL coaches started off as a collegiate coordinator. The college game, the coordinators become the NFL coaches. Collegiate coaches generally don't translate well to the NFL game because at that level, they're not, as far as motivation, that doesn't count because you got money involved, you got different things involved. The college game is centered around that head coach being able to bring everybody together and get everybody to work on one accord. It's not so much their specialty in offense versus defense or special teams. The coaches on that level have two jobs. Yep. Recruit it
and reinforcing fundamentals and keeping team morale high.
That's
That's
right.
it.
I appreciate.
Motivation and recruitment are those are collegiate coaches' only job.
All
so
right.
this is squarely on Coach O's shoulder.
That's it. And I'd like to thank y'all for joining us for Tough Tiger Talk. We'll be back after the game to recap it. Like and subscribe to the show. Thanks for joining us. Go Tigers. Peace.
Freshly prepared, home delivered, restaurant quality gourmet meals delivered straight to your home. Choose from over 50 plus gourmet meal options cooked by world-class chefs and delivered frozen, ready to eat within minutes and no commit. Welcome to the One Shop Gourmet Food Delivery, specialized affordable options to eat right and feel great. 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Every ingredient is handpicked to the highest standard. And why you should buy from homebistro.com? Restaurant quality made with natural ingredients delivered right to your door. Overnight shopping is available. Diabetic, paleo, heart health, and vegetarian options to eat doing business since 1999. Courteous, knowledgeable, and professional support. Complete PCI compliant SSL security ordering and great meals. Choose from some of my favorite dishes: the Mediterranean chicken with orange honey sauce, the charbroiled chicken romesco, or the grilled chicken breast with sweet and spicy vegetables. No matter what you choose, you can't lose with homebistro.com. Eat great, feel good, and save some money with homebistro.com. Hit the link in the description section below for more information.
Sports Coma with Big Q. The guy's intense, funny, and they always keep it real.
Check out the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, and even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That in all of us. Embrace Pet Insurance is more than just pet insurance. Embrace Pet Insurance promises to provide genuine support and certainty when your pet needs it the most. With personalized accident and illness policies, compassionate customer care, 24/7 access to veterinary professionals, flexible wellness plans, timely claims processing, and online customer portals, their values is what makes them Embrace. So, when selecting a pet insurance company as a partner in your pet's care, you deserve a company that has your pet's best interests at heart. Get top-rated and reviewed coverage for your pet today. Up to 90% back on bills at any vet, total protection, pet insurance and wellness, and dependable claims payments. Get the top-rated and reviewed coverage for your pet today. Go to EmbracePetInsurance.com. That's EmbracePetInsurance.com. Check the link in the description section below.
Are you a boxing fan? Check out Ring Kings Boxing only on the PRO Media Network.